Sonic Colors, one of the early boost games for the Sonic franchise. Released in 2010, exclusively for the Wii, Sonic Colors took the day stages from Unleashed and refined them to get Sonic Colors. Though a Wii exclusive, by 2021, fans got Sonic Colors Ultimate, a re-release that added small things. Is it worth it? Well, let's look at it. And also, just in general, is Sonic Colors a good game? So let's take a look at Sonic Colors Ultimate and see how this game holds up. Sonic Colors was the start of a specific writing style for the series, so trust me, this story summary will not be long at all. The story starts with Sonic just running through the levels. Sonic is running through Eggman's Interstellar Amusement Park, an amusement park that he built to make amends and apologize for previous evil doings. Sonic doesn't buy it and sees the new characters of Orbot and Cubot trying to capture some alien creatures. Sonic saves them, and after he's able to use the creatures to unleash a power of a kind. Tails creates a translator to communicate with the aliens. They meet one called Yacker who tells them about what's going on. They are these being called Wisp. They grant Sonic these powers because of an energy source they have within them. Eggman wants to capture them for evil reasons. Sonic meets Eggman and confirms he's got an evil plan. Oh, what? Who could have seen that coming? What's that? The sky's blue. What's next? You're gonna tell me the moon isn't broke? Sonic explores the planets Eggman captured for his park. Each planet has a generator that after the boss fight, Sonic shuts it down. He also learns that Eggman is using the Wisp's energy to build a mind control device to control the world. After running through the rest of the planet, Sonic stops the generators producing the mind control energy and releases the planets from its chains. Hey, that's just like Little Planet back in the day. Eggman has enough energy though and launches his machine, but it explodes. Sonic and Tails escape with Eggman showing up for a final showdown. Sonic pushes Tails into the elevator and faces Eggman alone. After doing one of the easiest bosses in this franchise, the energy from the machine creates a black hole. Sonic gets caught in it, with the Wisp then coming together to subdue the black hole and carries Sonic back home, with Tails reuniting with Sonic. Yacker then pulls up and says goodbye to his new friends, and the Wisps return the planets back to normal, ending the story of Sonic Colors. Oh my gosh, that was such a story summary. Yeah, this is a super simple story. At this time of release, it was a good story. Like, in the sense of it got the job done, you know? To be honest, by this point in the timeline for the franchise, certain Sonic fans had grown tired of the overly serious stories. I also think Sega just wanted a new direction for the series. It would make sense why they got Pontac and Graf, the new writers for Colors, all the way until Forces. It would make sense why they got them, but after certain information coming out, it seems like Sega was the ones that really pushed for this type of writing. Do I like it? No! I think for Colors, it does work. The only reason I think so is because, well, Colors doesn't take itself too seriously. Most story points are just whatever. As an adult, a lot of these jokes are whatever. But to the children, you know, the main target audience of this franchise, you know, it's fine. Works for them. It kind of has the same vibe as those movie jokes, you know? Look, as a fan, I 100% get it. Later on in this franchise, I hate this writing so much. Like, my gosh. But we aren't there yet. We are still on Colors, so let's enjoy it. Besides, now with Sonic Frontiers, The Murder of Sonic, and Sonic X Shadow Generations, we are getting better story writing. We are kind of getting a mix of lighthearted stuff with The Murder of Sonic and more serious stuff like Sonic X Shadow and Frontiers. That's great. Almost a mix of both. But hey, kids can enjoy amazing stories too that have serious moments. They don't always have to have silly jokes in them. Like Baldy McNosehair. We can do stuff like WALL-E or Kung Fu Panda or, I don't know, like Sonic 3, you know? Another Sonic story meant for the children? I'm still kind of mad Maria didn't get shot in the movies. Yeah, this here, Colors, right here, it's okay. The biggest story problem here is literally the fact that apparently Tails and Sonic don't see Yacker for a while, but nothing really happens with it. Like, oh no, Yacker's missing. Actually, just kidding, ignore that. It never happened. What? So yeah, he's fine. That's the biggest issue. But look, this isn't a story analysis of Sonic Colors and how it led to the destruction of the franchise. No, I don't even think that too much. This is a review of the game. This is a video game, so let's look at the Colors part of Sonic Colors. So how does this game play? Well, it's a boost formula game. After Sonic Unleashed, fans loved the daytime stages and wanted that without the padding. Sega then made Sonic Colors, where it was just boost inspired levels. Sonic can run, jump, homing attack, stomp, wall jump. Sonic can basically do everything he previously could in Unleashed. Daytime Sonic anyways. Everything returns except for the light speed dash. Sonic doesn't have it for some reason. I guess he took off those shoes specifically, but everything else is accounted for. And for the first time in the boost formula, Sonic has a double jump, a pretty cool feature that remains somewhat of a staple. It's missing in Generations, but welcome from then on. It's a great way to correct your jumps, even to use your speed and get farther than normal. It's great. Biggest downside is that the double jump and homing attack are on the same button. So if something is homing attackable, but in the way of your double jump, you ain't double jumping to make it there. You're homing attacking and going wherever the homing attack said. That's the only downside, but an additional tool. Minor changes were made for a lot of Sonic's abilities actually. Now Sonic can only quick step and drift in select areas. It's not that big of a deal, and considering this was originally a Wii game where they designed it with the sideways Wii remote in mind, it's not too bad. It's just kind of weird. It makes the levels feel at these points where they tell me to drift or quick step, it feels more forced. Not in a bad way, but oh, I have to drift here or I have to quick step here. If you don't, it can be a bit weird, but the level design isn't centered on that. The main thing is boosting. Well, sort of. Sonic Colors has a mix of 2D and 3D levels. The first 3 stages of each act are usually the biggest. As the levels progress, you start getting more bite-sized levels. What I mean is the first 3 acts are the biggest and the last 3 are smaller versions of those big ones. The mentality was, hey, instead of artificially adding more to the game to increase playtime, by adding things that take away from the main aspect that people like. The idea was, let's break down these levels and alter them to make new ones. That is what they did. You know, I get it. It is kind of hard to make a 6-minute level for a character that is moving at such high speed. So what would be a 6-minute level for Mario would be a 30-second level for Sonic. Honestly, this was a great idea. The levels feel altered enough to bring new ideas, but there was no added padding, just straight up Sonic running through levels. That was awesome. It works here. What also helped was the unique color powers. In certain acts of certain zones, Sonic will encounter a colored wisp. These guys grant Sonic abilities that can change the levels. The white wisp grants Sonic his boost. Unlike Unleashed, rings don't increase the meter. Certain enemies will give Sonic white wisp and increase the meter that way, but rings won't increase it this time. Kinda sad, because at least for me, I feel like you can't boost like a madman, just like you did in Unleashed. That's not the only reason why I feel that way, but let's look at the rest of the wisps first. The colored wisp are the ones that grant Sonic power-ups. Cyan turns you into a laser, able to defeat enemies and use these diamonds to get to different areas and take different paths. You can also just ricochet off walls your own way. The drill allows Sonic to burrow underground and explore lower areas. Underwater, it essentially grants Sonic the ability to swim. Not just that, the double jump does too, which is weird because Sonic shouldn't do that. He can't swim, but it makes being underwater so much better. So leave it in. Ignore the lore. Leave it in. You have the rocket wisp, which transforms Sonic to an orange rocket to reach higher areas quickly. Cube, which allows Sonic to transform blue rings to blue cubes to platform. The shockwave can also destroy enemies in boxes. Hover, which grants Sonic the ability to hover. Oh, wow. Who wrote this? But also the light speed dash. So does Sonic have these shoes or not? Like, what the hell's going on? You got the pink spike, which lets you cling onto walls and ceilings. It also gives him the spin dash. That's kind of cool. Boost Sonic never really had it except in the DS Rush game, so it's kind of cool that at least in a 3D game it's here. Then again, spike can only be used in 2D sections, so. Alright, then you got the purple frenzy, which transforms Sonic to a piranha, allowing him to eat everything in his way, getting bigger in the process and eventually drawing in rings. These whips are all power-ups that you can choose to use. Most levels don't require you to use them. You can beat most levels without them. You can ignore them. Some levels do require them. It's mostly the hover wisp, I feel. The rest, it's optional for the most part. That's cool because I can choose when to use them. If I don't like them, I can ignore them. In the sense of Cube, which I think is the most boring one, that's cool. I don't have to use it. So that's awesome. Also, with Colors Ultimate, they added the Ghost Wisp, a jade wisp that lets Sonic travel through walls. That's it. Yeah, it ain't much, but they did alter the level design for the new wisp, even changed red rings. Speaking of red rings, you will need the wisp to gather all the red rings. Gathering all of them unlocks levels in the Sonic simulator, which are levels designed like Sonic 1, but the later levels aren't, but it's kinda cool. Once beating all 3 levels of each zone in the simulator, you get a Chaos Emerald, eventually granting you Supersonic. Collect 50 rings and boom, now you can boost infinitely, have a higher jump, and are invincible. Supersonic can't use the wisps though, so getting S ranks is almost impossible. Yeah, the wisps are needed for S ranks because of their color bonuses. So that's the only thing. You want all those red rings, you want all those S ranks, you're gonna need to use the wisp. But just to beat the level itself, no, you don't need it. Yeah, the wisp can be a good time and let you do and see different things. It's really cool because, you know, it adds to its playtime in a sense. While the wisps are just basically power-ups you can ignore, my biggest downside to colors is actually the level design. Let's get this out of the way right now. It's not bad or terrible, but it focuses way more on platforming and 2D sections, making it feel slower than Unleashed in Generations. In the Sonic X Shadow review, I mentioned that there in Generations the levels had a mix of 2D and 3D, but platforming in both and high-speed action in both. Here in Colors, while still good, you can definitely see that platforming was more of the focus, and with the wisp being the only way to get boost, it makes the fast pace feel a bit harder to get. If you like that, cool, but as a Sonic fan, I want to go faster. After I learn how to do it, I definitely can. But in platforming, I tend to go slower. I can decide to go fast and it feels exhilarating, but with the emphasis on platforming, I find myself boosting in mainly sections designed for that, not really throughout the whole level itself. That is mainly a preference though. For me, Generations did it the best, but the design here is still good. My preference would be to have more focus on 3D and speed while not forgetting the platforming entirely, but not necessarily hyper focusing on just platforming. Yeah, I would say that's Color's biggest downside, is that hyper focus on 2D, which kind of shows how good Colors is. My biggest downside is that it has too many 2D levels or 2D sections. Like, wow, that's it? That's great. Colors is also a great looking game for being on the Wii. This was a beautiful game on the Wii. With the re-release, they did a bit too much bloom, which does kind of take you out of it sometimes, but kids shouldn't really care. And again, that is the target audience, so again, it is fine.
What have children ever done for me?
If you are so hyper-focused on graphics, the PC version grants you mods to fix it. Look, I'm gonna be honest. As a teenager, I did care for graphics. If it looked bad, I probably thought it wasn't good. Now as an adult, you have gorgeous-looking games that are terrible. They're garbage. And games that look old but are phenomenal. So who cares about graphics too much? On PC, like I said, you can get a mod to correct it. And if you're on console, well, you also got the costumes. Sonic can wear these costumes introduced in Ultimate. Sonic can change the colors of his shoes, gloves, his aura, and boost trail. It's a little addition to add more fun. Metal Sonic races was added in certain levels. They grant you medals to buy the costumes. It is just, you know, more fun. Nothing game changing, but little things, you know, to just add more flavor. But speaking of game changing, you got the music. Sonic Colors Original was one of the best soundtracks out there. Still such wonderful tune. Planet Wisp can even tell a story. It starts off more natural, just like the planet starting in the grass field, but by Act 3 the music sounds more techno and the planet is being taken over by Eggman. You're more in the factory areas. Sweet Mountain is a treat, and overall the music is great. Then you have the remixes introduced in Colors Ultimate. Each track was remixed and placed in the game along with the originals. These remixes can either be great or terrible for you. I think Act 3 of Tropical Resort is the best, and Aquarium Park sounds awesome. The rest, well, it will depend. I think the composition for Sweet Mountain's remixes are great, but the instruments they use are meh, and Planet Wisp lost that storytelling. The main theme and Speak With Your Heart remixes are great. Not just that, an update added that option so you can have it be just the original tracks or the remixes. By default, it's set to both. The first 3 acts will have the remixes, then the last 3 will have the originals. So yeah, it's a matter of taste. Don't like the remixes? Go turn it off. You don't mind the remixes? Go turn them on. If you just like the remixes, well, you're also covered too. The biggest downside is Sega sold it as DLC. Well, only the Planet Wisp remixes. Kinda scummy, but Sega is also always pretty nice about sales. In the grand scheme of things, where does it stand? Look, a lot of people complained about Sonic Colors Ultimate, saying it's a bad re-release. Look, I can agree with the bloom, but now, since the updates and everything, it has less problems. Do I think it is the best re-release? No, but do I think it does the job? Yeah, absolutely. By the end of the day, this is a re-release. The base game is still fun, so who cares, you know? Look, Sonic Colors has an okay story that gets the job done. The overall game is fun, the color powers adds a unique taste to the levels and are implemented well to be fun. You don't have to use them, but they can be a fun little thing. Some Wispy may like more. Rocket and Cube, you could argue, are the most boring, but the rest are pretty fun. The platforming, while not my preferred, level design is still controlled smoothly. Since Sonic can control kind of weird in 3D when slowing down, since most of the platforming is either very large in 3D sections or mostly in 2D, Sonic honestly controls wonderfully in this game since the level design was centered around that. That is great. Thank you. The music and graphics are good, and while the graphics may be overly bloomed, the game as a whole is still a wonderful time. That's what matters. Graphics, in my eyes, are secondary. Gameplay, having fun, that is what matters more. The red rings give you a reason to replay the level along with the wisp. And to be honest with you, when I first played this game, I put hundreds of hours into it. Even though it's a really short game, I kept finding myself replaying it because I enjoyed it. Sonic Colors is a phenomenal game that anyone should pick up and play. It was my first Boost game, and I think it was a solid entry in the franchise. A short but replayable time, unique settings, good music for the most part, and just a great time overall. The re-release does have its issues, like the bloom, that's the main one. Honestly, the remixes now, since you could turn it off, I think that's minor. Honestly, especially with the updates, I think the re-release is decent enough. The biggest problem is just that bloom. But as a re-release, as a whole, the base game is still fantastic. If you want to play a Sonic game, Sonic Colors is easily a recommendation and help bring back Sonic a bit back into the limelight for a Wii game. This is one of the best. It's even one of the best looking Wii games out there. That alone shows you how well Sonic Colors is. Normally, Wii games, Nintendo was the king of beauty. Sonic Colors looks just as great as some of those Nintendo games. It is amazing, and it's just a fun time. No extra padding, no reason to add nonsense. It is Sonic running, jumping, and doing what he does best, and it is a phenomenal time. Get it. It's great. And your kids will like it, you know, the target audience. With all that said, you guys have a good one and take care.